Like, niggas don't, you feel me? Niggas, it's really not about money. It's like he was trying to make a statement to be smart. Like, stop playing with me. There's no cost to love, and loving you is no cost. Like, I really love this nigga wholeheartedly to the point where, like, you can't pay me for shit. You. Yeah, nigga, fuck. Talking about what hurt. Let me tell you what hurt, nigga. When you told me get rid of the babies and then have a baby with a bitch you're not even with. That's what really hurt.
I believe you. I believe I take it. No, get the body. Get the body.
No, you're not. Not getting over.
Wait.
I'm not with bad. I'm not scared of y'all. I'm not leaving. No, get away from me. I don't care. No, bro. I don't care. Y'all petty. Y'all petty. I don't care. What are you saying?
Okay, so I'm sure you guys have seen the increasing and disturbing videos of artists Chrisean Rock and Blueface engaging in domestic violence, publicly fighting each other's families. And I mean, Chrisean has fought Blueface's mom and sister. And I'm talking it's like one of those just rough, like start to finish, just like, oh shit kind of neighborhood fights. It's not even like the bad after school fights. This is like that neighborhood, you know, Friday movie, meet me at this part on the street kind of fight, you know? That's how bad it's gotten. And Blueface, I mean, this is all going down as they are filming their new reality show because, of course, Zeus Network had to hop on this train wreck, right? So Blueface has just now fought Chrisean's father, and who knows who'll be next in the family, right? But on top of the violence with each other and with their family members, they are exposing not only their physical abuse, but their emotional abuse to each other. And a lot of their Instagram videos, you'll see them calling each other names, downplaying the violence that they experience in their relationship, you know, downplaying each other's accomplishments. It's scary and it's sad to see because more than anything else, it normalizes it to them. And we're going to get into all of that. But on top of the emotional abuse, you see them being extremely intoxicated together. And it's not even like a fun drunk couple moment. It's like, ooh, what's about to happen? They're already saying some mean things to each other. I think they're about to fight. It's one of those situations where it just gets really dark and sad, and it makes you not want to drink for like a month or 3 months or something, you know? But also they expose their codependency. You know, I think Chrisean has broken into Blueface's house, and Blueface's manager has tried to kick her out of his house multiple times. He's even tried to pay her $100,000 to never see Blueface again. I mean, imagine that. Your own manager gets involved in your dating life because they see that it's that destructive and that toxic, and they're going to try to pay off your lover. I mean, that's a whole nother level. And I believe Chrisean has also written in blood, like, I love you on Blueface's bathroom mirror. There's just a lot of extreme toxicities and like codependency behaviors, you know, like after they fight, these two will still be together, talk about their fight, try to show affection with each other and grapple on to those basic signs of love and lust to sustain their relationship. I mean, Chrisean has been really open about her childhood traumas, which is a really beautiful thing. But if you think about the way that Blueface and Chrisean are exposing their relationship, it's not being done in a healthy manner. You know, it's being exploited at this point. Chrisean also talked about the abortions that Blueface made her get. I mean, that exploitation of their, you know, sexual history and Blueface's sexual transgressions. I mean, it's just a whole extreme, you know, but I think there's a spiritual lesson in the fact that we all are witnessing this very extreme but realistic interpretation of a toxic relationship, you know? Because on a basic level, I mean, not only do Blueface and Chrisean have, you know, traumas, but there's a lack of emotional and spiritual intelligence because these two aren't able to evolve from what's happening. I mean, honestly, it's sad to see because, you know, on the outside, they're a good-looking couple, you know, and they seem smart enough to make money, establish careers, even though they're doing it in the not, you know, not a healthy way or a way to really like sustain a good reputation in any industry. But nonetheless, they are building careers. I mean, Chrisean just recently released a music video featuring Blueface for her single Keep Swimming. And the video, I watched it, it's a nice song. It's actually positive. It's not raunchy. And she really is encouraging others to overcome their traumas and the darkness of their path by just moving forward, essentially. But, you know, you do see in the music video the more positive aspects of their relationship and their connection. But, you know, in reality, they are modern day Ike and Tina Turner, you know, and even worse, you know, because here's, you know, a rapper, and I don't know what genre Chrisean is like following under exactly, but either way, they're both music artists, and now they have, you know, the exposure of the relationship on Instagram. And now, you know, they just have this new show that they're filming on Zeus Network. So here they are becoming up-and-coming reality TV stars, which is so dangerous, you know. Initially, Chrisean and Blueface met on Blueface's OnlyFans reality show called Blue Girls Club, which is fucking ridiculous nonetheless. But I mean, if you think about it, OnlyFans is really expanding their repertoire. So here we have Bad Baby making, you know, becoming a millionaire through OnlyFans. I mean, I think she may have already been a millionaire, but, you know, OnlyFans only increased that for her, right? We have fitness gurus like Anna Cherry who have established careers through OnlyFans. And then we also have, you know, the safe spaces that OnlyFans provides for different fetish communities. And now we have people making full-on reality TV shows. I mean, it's really amazing how much one website can do and get away with, and also change our society and culture all in a pandemic heartbeat. Because let's be real, like, I feel like OnlyFans really blew up through the pandemic, through, you know, people's financial struggles and sense of desperation, right? So after Chrisean and Blueface's debut on their OnlyFans show, you know, they basically hyped up their social media accounts, and Zeus Network is like, okay, yeah, let's exploit them even further, and let's boost our own ratings at the same time. And if you've seen anything produced from the Zeus Network, you know that it is not only going to kill a career, but it's going to kill a person's identity in 2 episodes or less. I mean, that's just the truth there. I mean, but honestly, a lot of TV networks do that. We have VH1, you know, there's TLC channel with 90 Day Fiancé. I mean, I think I stopped watching the Family Chantal season after like season 2 because it was just so redundant, and whether or not this family was making it redundant to, like, you know, build businesses, gain wealth, or, you know, a social media following, Because at some point, you know, I think they go on these shows not really knowing what's going to happen or what to expect. But then when they see that they can get all this attention and opportunities and endorsements, they keep going along with it. And that's when I think these couples will stretch things out, make these secret agreements to basically stay in their toxic relationship for money and fame, you know. But other shows like MTV, of course, I mean, there's the Real World Road Rules Challenge, where we've not only seen like dozens of alcoholics be made and enabled, but, you know, people's lives have been destroyed on that show as well. And Lifetime, you know, in the past, I say 7 years, has really gotten into reality TV because, you know, it's cheap production and it's lucrative. So they have shows like The Preacher's Daughters, where, I mean, that show was just never... I mean, how much can you exploit? One, teenagers on TV, but two, the whole contrast of them, you know, being religious and being on TV, you know, that show was only going to last so long. But nonetheless, it did have an impact and an exposure, and I hate to say it, but it's true. I've known a few preachers' daughters in my life, and they were like the wildest girls that I knew in high school. But Lifetime also has other shows like Marrying Millions, and that's sad too because, you know, you see these young people. I mean, some of the couples are kind of sweet, but then you have other couples where it's just like, fuck, this doesn't even feel right, doesn't look right, and clearly either this person is just a naive gold digger or they're just straight up being exploited and manipulated. So it gets weird, and in some way lives are being destroyed. But, you know, as a Black person, I have to say, with these networks and shows, especially with Zeus Network, it's so frustrating to see because, you know, they are exploiting Black, brown, and trailer white bumpkins and destroying lives all at once. And some people don't have the self-awareness or level of intelligence to really know when a decision is going to be bad for them. And they're so desperate to come out of poverty and have an opportunity to do something more with their lives that they agree and they sign these contracts, and they're not even making that much money from it. It's really ridiculous when you think about it. And Zeus is just like the bitch ass devil puppet, really, because that whole network, they allow fights to ensue and they encourage them. I mean, it's really like, you know, a dog fight ring in the bottom of like a speakeasy basement or something. I mean, that's how much social fuckery they're promoting. And they're also promoting this terrifying and growing trend in our society where people are selling their morals, their integrity, and self-respect for money and fame, and they're normalizing that for the youth, and that's scary too, you know. But honestly, if like the devil had an agenda in America, it would be to capture morals, because with a diminished morality, a person's soul is easier to corrupt and trap in karma pits, which on a spiritual level causes one to lose their ability to ascend from the third dimension. And I know a lot of people are like, no, we're just meant to like live and be. But no, we are meant to grow and learn and be of service to the world. And that is what brings us to a place spiritually where we don't have to keep reincarnating on earth. And I know a lot of people don't believe in reincarnation, but that is what that principle really stems from. You know, we are truly meant to ascend from the third dimension. You know, they call it a matrix, they call it a simulation, but really it is like a spiritual simulation. We are given these experiences and opportunities that test our, you know, not only our morality, but our ability to conduct ourselves in ways that promote wellness for not only ourselves, but for others in this world, you know. And that's the true test there. Can we make those healthy decisions? Can we engage in healthy behaviors on a daily basis and be self-disciplined in that, you know? And can we truly find happiness within ourselves without, you know, the use of luxury, entertainment, relationships, or substances? You know, I tell you, I have to do a whole episode about that, but really, this whole dimension, you know, living in the third dimension, there's so much more to it on the spiritual level. And the spiritual battle really is the test that you go through that can pull you into a negative vibration or a positive vibration, right? So yes, there are many reality shows that do give people, you know, positive platforms. And I'll say positive to the extent where some reality shows are more high tier than other reality shows. Like Love and Hip Hop isn't as respected as Real Housewives of Beverly Hills or Atlanta or New Jersey, you know. There's just there's different levels to different reality shows and how respected they are and how respected those cast members are to the general public. But people are able to build platforms, start businesses, and build generational wealth, and that's a positive thing to see. So, like with anything in life, you're gonna have like that positive force that's changing and driving someone, and then that negative force. So while people in these reality shows are building generational wealth and starting businesses, they're also engaging in really petty fights that, you know, make people look at them in a different way or negatively. They're also exposing some of the darkest aspects of their personal lives as well. So I think that's important to keep in mind. But, you know, if you think about The Simple Life with Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie, I mean, this is like one of the first like no purpose reality TV shows to really be on the scene. And this was on basic channels. So this is on, I believe that show premiered on Fox. So think about that, because you don't really see reality TV shows on basic network channels like that. But that show not only made millions believe that Paris and Nicole were stupid, but they also made them look like social deviants. And it took them years to overcome that reputation. And I mean years. I mean, Nicole had to pretty much like step out of the spotlight, you know, and I believe the most I know about her now is that she has her children and, you know, she's a mom, and I think she still has fashion stuff. But think about that. She had to disappear, you know, you almost have to become non-relevant and then, you know, be introduced in a more positive way years later. It's really interesting when you think about it. But then you also have celebrities like Kim Kardashian, who exploited her own multi-million-dollar sex tape to gain public attention. And to this very day, she's still using her body, of course, for social gain and to maintain her wealth, which there's nothing wrong with that. But now she has daughters who are going to learn from her, because to them, these are normal behaviors. This is a normal way that a mom acts on a daily basis. I didn't say that right, but whatever. But you know what I mean. Like, this is going to become life to them, you know? And then you have, you know, we all know about what's happening with Ray J and him exposing the sex tape contracts. But Ray J, the recently debunked performer and sex worker, has successful businesses, but also has the reputation of selling out his morals and being a womanizer because of his presence on reality TV. And let's not forget about Phaedra Parks. You know, I really respected her for like a chunk of time on The Real Housewives. And I'll say I do think she is a good mom, because, you know, her children were adorable, and, you know, her moments with them were like some of the sweetest moments on that show. But because of a single rumor and her insecurity and jealousy of Candy, you know, she almost destroyed her career, you know. And it feels to me like she's been blacklisted from reality TV, and I don't know how her businesses have been doing since then, but I'd be curious to, well, maybe I should look into it, but it's hard to say. But regardless, I think Chrisean Rock and Blueface being on reality TV will build them and destroy them at the same time. But I think ultimately what will break them first is their love for each other. I mean, we're not only watching a social media and reality TV train wreck, but we're watching a Propeller karmic relationship play out. So for those just tuning in, welcome back to another episode of Sleepy Aliens Perspective. I'm your host, H. Lee. Be sure to hit that like button, help me reach 1,000 subscribers and build my audience, because I'm making good content here and I deserve it. But thanks for tuning in and thanks for supporting me. On tonight's episode, I want to discuss a new term I coined, but we all intuitively know the meaning to, which is Propeller karmics. So first, let's talk about what a Propeller karmic is. So I don't know if you guys know, but in Sanskrit, the ancient language of Hinduism, karma means action. So if the definition of propel means to drive forward or onward by force, then a Propeller karmic is meant to drive one forward into action, particularly positive change. Change that can reverse karma demerits and increase karma merits. So while Propeller karmics can be friends and family members, I am focusing on the idea that Propeller karmics are romantic in nature. You know, I mean, we are all wired for love. We all desire it to some degree. I know there's sociopaths out there, but they still have love for something or some action or some complex within themselves, right? So it's a force that we can't really turn away from, and it's hard to let go. And even when it destroys us, you know, we still want it. We still crave it. I mean, the power of love is, I mean, it's just all encompassing. So I think when it comes to Propeller karmics, it's important to think about romantic relationships because, you know, when it comes to family and friend bonds, there's a lot that we can learn and heal and grow from. But I think the biggest lessons that people get in life come from their romantic relationships. But first I want to talk about the addiction to toxic love. And of course we're seeing this in Chrisean and Blueface, but addiction to toxic love stems from unhealed trauma patterns playing out in a person's adult life. And of course these trauma patterns stem from things they witnessed in their childhood, so that environment they grew up in, but also the behavioral patterns that they learned from their parents, or even on TV, because, you know, that's what the media does. You know, the media has the power to condition our culture and our ways of thinking and how we talk, you know, and how we respond to love. I mean, you know, I'll have to make a whole new episode about this, but media has really shaped our perception of romantic love, and it's shaped it to a very toxic level, right? So these trauma patterns playing out in our adult lives, they play out not for our demise or to create pain in our lives, but to give us the chance to heal and experience healthy love in all forms, especially when it comes to self-love. Because if you can love you in a healthy manner, you can love somebody else in a healthy way as well. And the more you're able to give yourself love, positive self-love, and the more you're able to heal yourself, the more you can attract healthier and positive relationships. But sometimes, people can be alone and learn about self-love and heal, but we also need to have people come into our lives to help expose different complexes in us that we may be in denial about or that we may need to heal. And that's where the Propeller karmic comes in. And I tell you, these Propeller karmics come into your life swiftly, unexpectedly. And it's so serendipitous. It feels special and it's romantic. And yes, to some degree, there is love in these Propeller karmic relationships. But really, they're being brought together because two people need to come into union to pay off karmic debts. And if we're thinking about soul ties, yes, there's a good chance that these Propeller karmics have propelled in past lives together, and they have yet to really heal and break those karmic patterns that are holding them back from their spiritual ascensions, So they are coming together to pay off these debts, learn major soul lessons, and break generational cycles. But oftentimes, people learn the hard way. So you see people having the same kind of relationship over and over. I mean, think about Khloe Kardashian. She had Lamar, Infidelity, and then she has Tristan, same thing, Infidelity. She still hasn't healed her insecurity complexes. She still hasn't developed the self-love that's necessary for her to attract real love, So it's something to think about there. And I know something I realize is, one, if you want to be successful as a content creator, you really have to, of course, find your niche. But, people love to hear about celebrities. They love to talk about celebrities. And I've always been a person since I was a kid. I've been so aware that, you learn things and lessons from the people around you and what they're experiencing. And I think, if anything, if you're going to pay attention to celebrity lives, it's to learn what not to do, what you should do, and what you're capable of doing, right? And so, I use the example of Khloe because it's very relevant. We've all been Khloe to some degree, where we've let someone diminish our self-worth because, we so badly crave and want love, but I just have to say that. But on a 3-dimensional and normative societal scale, people don't acknowledge karmic relationships. We aren't taught about that, of course, in our educational system. I mean, we aren't taught about much spirituality in westernized educational scales or systems. But when you think about it, two people, become blinded by false manifestations of true love, what they believe love to be, what they tell themselves that they are experiencing. And because they feel intense rushes of emotions, and because they probably do genuinely care about that other person, but only to the extent that they care and love themselves, which, as we're seeing with Chrisean and Blueface, it's not that much, right? But these people on another level, they are grappling with fears of aloneness, abandonment, and they have an overall resistance to their own ascensions because people fear, change on a normative scale, but they fear change that they have to make within themselves to grow and be better. Furthermore, I want to say that normative society narrows love to toxic ideations, definitely perpetuated by Disney and, teen drama shows, but also what we're taught about what marriage is and parenthood is, I think they sugarcoat it so much to the point where when people are in relationships and marriages and, dealing with the different facets of parenthood, they feel blindsided because they're like, I didn't think it was supposed to be like this. I mean, I feel blindsided by what people said adulthood was going to be like. And I know people are like, I would hear that all the time as a kid, like, don't be in a rush to grow up. And I just really didn't understand it, but now I do. But at the same time, you know, sometimes people are in a rush to grow up because you have to escape, you know, toxic families and such. But I don't know, I think society has really set people up for failure in a sense when it comes to romantic love and marriage and parenthood. And so you get into those situations and then you have to teach yourself what those situations really are and how you can conduct yourself in a healthy way that promotes love and success in those situations, you know. If you think about Chrisean, I mean, she is smart, talented, and beautiful. And, you know, it's hard for me to perceive men who hit women in a positive way, even though I know Chrisean has also, you know, engaged in that level of violence. But I think the fact that Blueface would, you know, get on his knees and beat his, you know, girlfriend in the face on a public street, I think it just says a lot about him. But, you know, to give him some positive, you know, credit here, I'll say that he is creative and he does demonstrate some savvy entrepreneurial skills. But overall, I think each still have the potential to save their social standings, their careers, and be an example of social redemption to society. But the fact that they're about to be on Zeus Network, which is only going to highlight and exploit the negative aspects of their emotional and spiritual intelligence and their relationship, it's going to be hard to come back from that. I mean, just ask Jocelyn Hernandez, you know, is she ever going to make a real social redemption? I don't think it's possible for her at this point, you know. But she will continue to make money through, you know, negative ventures that exploit herself and others, you know. But the thing about Propeller Karmics is that these relationships aren't meant to last. I mean, like I said before, they come in swiftly and they're meant to end swiftly. But, you know, the longer Propeller Karmics stay together, the more chaos ensues. And that's what we're witnessing with Chrisean and Blueface. And I'm sure you guys can think of relationships that you've had in your own life that have lasted longer than they should because it was hard to let go of and you were addicted to different aspects of the relationship, whether they were positive or negative, you know. But when these Propeller Karmics stay together, there's a lot of mental, physical, and spiritual disruption that's happening, you know, because despite the ability to pay off their karmic debts, Propeller Karmics start to accrue them together, you know, and on a 3-dimensional scale, because there's a lack of emotional and spiritual growth happening, you know, you're not ascending, so you're basically causing stagnation in your personal life, and you'll see that in your career and your other relationships, you know. So you're gonna feel like you're trapped or stuck or in this recurring loop of toxicity, essentially. And again, I know that Chrisean and Blueface are very extreme versions of a karmic relationship, you know, but at the end of the day, there's real relationships like this playing out all over America, all over the world. But before, you know, I get into some more, I want to go over some basic signs of a Propeller karmic relationship. So one, there's a lack of effective and progressive communication. So these two people, you know, they're stuck and addicted to this toxic relationship. So subconsciously, there's a lot of sabotage happening. So they are going to hold back on saying what they need to say to each other and expressing their true feelings, you know? And if they are expressing their true feelings, they're not going to be able to get to a state of resolution in their communication. Also, the relationship doesn't uplift or inspire. You know, I spoke about the emotional abuse that we see in Chrisean and Blueface's relationship and how they talk down to each other, you know, so that doesn't, you know, stimulate momentum and motivation and growth, you know. I think clearly with this new music video and song that they have, they'll come together for the sake of money. But when it comes to them healing, no, they don't promote that with each other. But other signs are there's a depletion of mental, physical, and spiritual energy. So this relationship is so toxic that it's draining, of course. And these two propeller karmics, they're basically like energy vampires to each other. There may not be violence in the relationship, but there's a great deal of codependency, jealousy, mirroring of insecurities, because we attract the partners that reflect basically who we are at that moment in time and where we're at in our healing journeys. That's something else that people don't want to admit, because it makes you cringe and makes you think, well, I guess I wasn't as healed as I thought I was back then, or I guess I'm still needing to work on that right now. And that's really hard to admit, but what we see is that propeller karmics bring out the worst in each other more often than they bring out the best. So we see that indulging in bad habits like Chrisean and Blueface getting absolutely wasted, and for some reason, you know, filming that, which people, can we just stop filming that shit? You know, it's just, it's not a good look. It's not a good thing. But we also have the infidelity. So that clip I showed in the beginning of Chrisean talking about Blueface making her get an abortion, but then having a baby with another woman, you know. So not only is there infidelity, but there's a lack of trust as well. And that lack of trust breeds a lot of paranoia, manipulation. It causes people to withhold love and affection and time, which then depletes the intimacy in the relationship. And a lot of times these toxic relationships, once the emotional intimacy is depleted, they rely on physical intimacy to compensate for that. And, you know, that is just not going to sustain any relationship, right? And then lastly, you know, there is a disregard of feelings too. Because if they really acknowledge their partner's feelings, then they'll have to acknowledge the reality of the relationship. And these two karmic propellers are trapped in this cycle of, you know, toxicity, emotional abuse, and just downright spiritual dissension. But subconsciously and consciously, propeller karmics trigger each other as a way to repeat the negative relationship cycles. Because, you know, if they're emotionally and spiritually and intelligently, you know, stagnated, they aren't developing the skills or the level of healing that's necessary for them to effectively communicate and effectively learn from their negative experiences. So what that does is that it puts them in a state where they're going to keep doing the same shit that they witnessed in their childhood and the same negative behaviors that they get off on, you know, as a toxic couple. So I think that's really important to note. So what else is there? People know the relationship should end, but, you know, they use sex and socializing and substances as a way to avoid and distract them from working on the true levels of intimacy. And, you know, I've been reading a lot about intimacy and vulnerability. And another thing I learned was that, I mean, I think this is such an American thing too. It's a cultural thing. But generally, an easy way that couples avoid real intimacy and healing is that they use holidays and vacations, you know, all of these big events, you know, going to parties or going out to distract them from really being alone together and just being intimate and just talking and just really, you know, exposing each other's true feelings and developing real closeness, you know. But instead they use like, oh, we went to this, you know, trip last year, and you know, yeah, you were so happy to be out and about and seeing new things and having a fun experience, that, you know, that kind of masks the real intimacy, the real connection that you need to sustain the relationship. You know, you have that experience instead that, you know, blankets it and creates an illusion of deep intimacy, but really it's the intimacy that you develop from just being alone together. And it's the simplicity and just talking and getting to know each other on deeper levels, you know. And I'm not saying like couples can't, you know, develop intimacy through activities at all, but a lot of times activities and events become distractions for couples, you know. And I just want to point that out there because I thought that was interesting when I was reading about that. Propeller karmics repeat the same relationship mistakes together so they don't grow out of the relationship. And so I think that's another important thing to acknowledge, is that both are consciously and subconsciously sabotaging not only themselves but the relationship by, you know, repeating similar mistakes. Because, you know, if you think about it, a part of them does want to break free. Your spirit does want change. So you're experiencing that loop of experiences because, you know, you're recreating an opportunity to learn and grow, but you're still making the same bad choices in that loop. So you're never going to break free from it. And lastly, I want to say that propeller karmic relationships, there's a lot of control issues because everything's so chaotic. There's going to be a lot of different, you know, forms of manipulation and, like I said before, withholding love and affection. And basically that's two people trying to have the upper hand in the relationship. And in these karmic propeller relationships, it's like, you know, it's like tennis. It's going to go back and forth where, you know, the upper hand will be there, the upper hand will be here next time, right? So these propeller karmics will find themselves repeating the same toxic relationship patterns, and the result in that, there's a lot of emotional, physical, and spiritual impacts. I mean, not only could you develop mental health disorders and PTSD, but you could also develop chronic fatigue, and who knows, if you have pre-existing conditions, health conditions, it can exacerbate that. And spiritually, it's going to fuck with your vibration levels. And if you can't vibrate high, you can't attract positive things and positive experiences in your life. And I know people could say, well, Chrisean and Blueface have, you know, this Deal with Zeus network. I'm like, honey, that's the devil's fucking network. That's not a positive opportunity. That's not something that is being delivered by God. But God will allow it because God wants these two to break free of their toxicity. And, you know, unfortunately, we learn the hard way most of the time in the 3-dimension, right? And if you think about it, the universe allows cycles, and the universe, you know, multiplies itself in like these alternate dimensions and these infinite realities because it truly wants souls to grow and ascend. You know, that is the purpose of how the universe operates. It will continue to create an infinite amount of opportunities to learn for a person. And it doesn't discriminate. It doesn't look down on a person if they don't learn. It'll just keep recreating the opportunities, whether that happens in a single life cycle or whether, you know, it'll occur in another life cycle. But the saddest part about propeller karmics is that lovers become complacent in toxicity. And whether or not these propeller karmics do eventually end the relationship, they will attract another relationship just like it. Because like I said, the universe wants you to learn. So you're going to get a whole nother version. You know, maybe visually it'll be a whole different person, but emotionally, spiritually, and physically, it's going to be the same experience, you know. And if you think about the things that we learn, I mean, you're essentially wiring your brain to perceive the toxicity and the abuse and just the overall negative aspects of the experience as a natural state of relationships and love, which is how your child self thought when you were in environments and witnessed relation toxicities with your parents or your guardians, or through media or whatever form you were using to learn more about relationships and love. So that normalization, it's becoming hardwired into the brain. You know, so think about that. The behaviors that we repeat, negative or positive, are what the brain will integrate as logic, standard, and typical. So now you're not only building karmic debt that you have to pay off, but that negative wiring of your brain, it will take years to unwire and rewire to healthier beliefs and practices. Because, you know, if that wiring was first initiated in your childhood and you're repeating it in your adulthood, think about the fact that, you know, through that childhood, adulthood period, you thought that was truth. You thought that was normal, you know, and how long is it taking you to still break that and realize that that's not normal, that's not healthy? Let me, you know, teach myself healthier ways. And I know a lot of people will say that, you know, you need a relationship to help you learn those things. But no, there's books out there, there's therapy, there's a lot of self-healing you can do on your own. And then you can step out and, you know, engage in a dating experience, and that'll come to you naturally when the universe is like, okay, I think they're ready, and let's test where they're at with these things, these issues that they need to work on and heal. You know, that is the benefit of, you know, the way the universe operates to help us learn and pay off these karmic debts so that we can ascend beyond the negative experiences that, you know, have gone on for multiple lifetimes, essentially. But while Chrisean and Blueface are public figures, capitalizing on their drama, you know, like I said before, there's Propeller relationships like this playing out every day in everyday life. I mean, think about the people that you see on The Maury Show or Jerry Springer and Judge Judy. I know they are plucking some of the trashiest, you know, people out there and exploiting, you know, those in poverty. But at the same time, these are real relationships. These are real intelligence levels that people are at. And that's where their self-awareness is. And these shows, you know, have sustained themselves for multiple decades. So just consider that. I mean, and now we see this on like Love and Hip Hop and all these dating shows like The Bachelorette or The Bachelor. I mean, there's so many, or Love Island. I've never actually watched that show because by the time that came around, I just grew out of, you know, watching romance reality shows, you know. But yeah, if you think about it, there's a lot of people that still have so much healing and learning to do. But because of our society and because of, you know, what's normalized, you know, it takes longer for people to break out and truly go on that healing journey and grow and attract healthier relationships and build true self-love for themselves. But another sad part about Propeller Karmics is that they often give birth and bring children into this realm that are forced to survive the toxicity that, you know, these couples experience themselves in childhood, that they've now recreated for their own children. And now they're putting their children in a place where they'll have to carry the generational patterns, but unlearn them and break free of those negative behaviors and hopefully break those generational cycles, you know. And that's a lot to put on a child. And people don't think about that before they have children. It's like, consider what you need to heal so you don't, repeat the same toxic cycles that you witnessed. A lot of people want to have a child, and like Kim K, who's like, oh, my sex tape, my daughters are gonna see it. I'm like, well, now they're like getting older, and now you're worried about it. But you weren't worried about it when you gave birth to them, when you hired a surrogate, you weren't thinking about that shit. Oh, it's so frustrating, especially when, it's rich people who have access to the best mental health, practitioners in the world, and yet they don't actually do anything to help themselves in that degree. It's fucking stupid. And it's an insult to people who cannot afford that shit. So, overall, what we're seeing here is Propeller karmics holding each other back instead of pushing each other forward. There's that propel of them being together, but then it's like the split that needs to occur, and they go off in different directions, but still up and forward, and on a psychological note, individually, there's a lack of self-love, there's a fear of healthy love, there's a fear of loss and change, there's insecurities and doubts and massive self-sabotage occurring in these relationships. And celebrities are public figures, like I said before, just from my perception, I think we have the opportunity to learn from them. And that's why they're so prominent in our society. At least that's why I like to see it. I know it's entertainment. I know it's promoting trash culture, luxury culture, just all the things that are really diminishing values like education and art in this world. But aside of that, we have an opportunity to learn from these relationships that we see play out in everyday life. But Chrisean and Blueface clearly are propelling, but they have yet to learn and they have yet to let go. The last piece of advice that I want to share about Propeller karmics is don't shoot the karmic, because as they propel you, you propel them. There should be, and the intention is that there should be an equal exchange of growth occurring, So viewers out there, I hope you found this episode to be insightful. Be sure to leave a like, please leave a like, and share this video because you know somebody who is in a Propeller karmic relationship, and maybe you want to send them something to help them out. And also subscribe so you can get notifications of the other spiritual videos that I make and just the wellness things I talk about. And some things aren't all wellness and, spiritual. It's just whatever the fuck I want to talk about, which is why I do like making content. But leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts on Propeller karmics, your experiences, and how you're perceiving Chrisean and Blueface's situation. But other than that, have a good night, sleepyheads. And if you're out there in a Propeller karmic relationship, remember that each day you have a chance to break free and move forward in your self-love journey.